Hey everybody, Teddy J on Crypto for Grow My Bag TV, and here is your Sunday Roundup. Last week was quite eventful. We got economic data, we had big dumps from FTX, obviously Grayscale, we had China economic data come out, and some things that they're trying to do to stabilize their economy. We have all kinds of things going on with the SEC, Binance, Ripple, even a little bit of news about Terraform Labs. And of course, some news about Ethereum. So let's get into it. So first we have Gemini. Gemini launched or relisted XRP after delisting it and then taking a freaking long time to get back involved with XRP. So now they have XRP perpetual contracts. That's a good thing. Whatever. What I don't like is that they were quick to delist, right? And then they were really slow on relisting. And of course, they had that issue with New York State where they lost their license to actually do business in New York State. So that was a problem. Then they had to pay that $8 million. So that's an issue for them. I think they need to move a little bit smarter with what they're doing, right? This is a very well-known centralized exchange. And if they want to grow, they've got to move better. They've got to start making better decisions. Being basically dead last to relist XRP, openly get involved with it. Yeah, guys, let's step up our game there a little bit. Kraken, on the other hand, is stepping up their game, recognizing that they might have some opportunities for improvement and saying, you know what, let's go snag some executives from a company that we know is doing well. For those of you that don't like seeing me put lotion on, so sorry, got to do it sometimes. So looking at that, Kraken is actually starting to make the right moves, but Gemini might be still making the wrong moves. I think they need to do take a little bit more of a pragmatic approach to how they do business. They did do something right. They dropped a little bit of happy news with regard to being able to get licensed or being licensed in the EU. I think specifically France. I have to look into that. It's not that deep for me because I'm not a user of Gemini, so not that I care. I do care that they stay in business. I do care that they grow as a business, as a company. But I think they need to start making better moves than what they have. Coinbase is truly blowing everybody away in the United States, and that's a problem because what you don't want is a monopoly on what's going on in a given area. So that's one thing that I'm considering. Now, with regard to Grayscale, obviously we all know that Grayscale took a big dump of Bitcoin shares. I think the total was over $3.3 billion worth of Bitcoin were dropped. Bitcoin shares. I must be an idiot. So that's a problem. So it dropped the market a lot. But I want you to think about this. The market dropped down as far as in the 38,000 range, right? I had said that that's probably going to happen, and it did. We touched on that. Then if you look at today, we're in the $42,000 range. That's a pretty nice growth, right? Because if you think about it, if you're down in the 38s and you bought in, going up $4,000, yeah, that's pretty much what? Greater than 10% growth over a few days, right? I'm expecting things to continue to get positive. If you look at the fear and greed index out there, we went from like 49, we're back up to I think 54 or something like that. I'm expecting things to get a little bit more positive as you start to realize that Grayscale is probably tapering off. There are no current foreseeable headwinds at the moment. So now the market can take over. So there's not a lot of downward pressure that's happening. People are talking about Mt. Gox and, how they could be paying out and how people from that could be cashing out. Listen, here's my thought on that. If your money was tied up in the whole Mt. Gox fiasco, right? And you're trying to figure out what you're going to do next. My idea is that you're probably not going to sell. Why? Well, because you've been holding for this long, you watched it, you had to sit there and watch it go up to 69,000 and then drop all the way down into the teens. And now you just witnessed it go all the way back up into the 40s. So if it's me, I might as well hold. I might as well hold to what I have right now, right? Unless, I need the money, whatever it is. But if I have a chance to hold, I probably will, because probably by the end of the year, we'll be above 50. Most likely by the end of the year, we'll be above our all-time high with regard to Bitcoin. And if Bitcoin surpasses its all-time high, I'm definitely expecting other altcoins to jump ahead of their all-time highs, respectively. Now, FTX selling, dumping Grayscale, Grayscale shares is a big deal. About $1 billion? Just looking at my notes. That's kind of a big deal. But like I said, I think that's all tapering off. I think that's behind us right now. ProShares lost, on their BITO piece, they lost. Why? Because people like Cathie Wood are buying their own shares, right? So it is what it is. So ProShares is going to have to think about it. To kind of round out Grayscale, my thought on Grayscale is that company really could be on the chopping block. I mean, obviously, I don't think ProShares is going to be on the chopping block because that's not their only business. But for Grayscale, that's their only business. And to dump that much that quick, I really do think they could be on the chopping block, because I could snatch up Grayscale like this and be in the game. Be automatically in the game. That and their parent company, DCG, Digital Currency Group, needs the cash. That's not play games. Barry Silbert is in trouble. They need the money. So that's something I'm looking at, or I looked at. BlackRock and Fidelity over the past week, BlackRock, Fidelity, and I think Grayscale as well, got kicked in the teeth saying, hey, SEC said, we're not going to make a decision right now on your Ethereum Ethereum spot ETF applications. And I go back to what Hester Peirce said, which she's saying it shouldn't take a lawsuit to get this done. And I agree with her. That's Crypto Mom. I do agree with her. And the reason why is because I don't require a lawsuit, because we already have a path forward, because you've already approved Bitcoin spot ETFs. So if that's a commodity, this is a commodity, then it should be easy peasy, right? I can almost mimic the paperwork that I did, and that should get me forward and say, okay, boom, all done. The only thing that I can think of is that you can still, mine, mint, whatever, Ethereum, but you can't on Bitcoin. So there's a finite number of Bitcoin, and there isn't for Ethereum. However, that shouldn't bear any kind of weight to the situation. So I'm expecting there to be an Ethereum spot ETF in the coming months. Now, will that happen within in the March-April timeframe where we're expecting the halving event to happen for Bitcoin? Highly possible, and that could also drive things up. So we have less headwinds ahead, save one thing on the economy. We'll get to that a little bit later. And we have more, winds pushing us onward and upward. So that's why I'm kind of like, I have to pay attention to what I'm buying into now, I have to adjust my DCA strategy, right? And the reason why I'm adjusting my DCA strategy, dollar cost averaging, is because of the opportunities that I see ahead. So with all these opportunities that I see, I'm kind of stepping back and going, which ones do I think are going to pay off the most? The next question is, should I get involved with some of these meme coins, given the fact that when one ship rises, all ships rise? Meme, not meme. So if meme coins have the potential of 10xing, should I get involved with meme coins? I mean, back in the day, my long shot was Shiba Inu. Before that, it was Doge. I've since gotten off of Doge, and no, I have not gotten off of Shiba Inu, because I expect Shiba Inu to be phenomenal over the coming years. So I'm happy with Shiba Inu. I'm happy with that whole community. But should I be looking at something up like a Bonk, a Pepe? I'm not looking at Pepe. They're a freaking mess. Should I be looking at Myro? Just should I be looking at other things? There is a YouTuber right now that keeps talking about this one thing. I won't say it because it was specifically named to name a male body part, right? And then with Inu at the end. And he says, listen, I was given a whole bag of it. So it seems now that every time he talks about it, or every time he has a show, he's talking about it. And then his audience is cracking jokes, and he'll read what they have to say and laugh about it. And I'm like, to me, that kind of smells like manipulation, right? Somebody that he knows had a project, gave him a bunch of stuff. Maybe he consulted. I'm not saying he received it incorrectly. I'm just saying, but he did receive a bag of that particular meme. And now he's on a show yapping about it. That's nice. I'm not going to do that. And I still like the guy. I still like what he does. I still like some of the information that he gives and all that good stuff. But as a part of my research, I'm paying attention to things like that. I'm paying attention to news that comes out that when you read the article, it seems like it's interesting. And until you realize that is a freaking well-written press release. And what happens with press releases? It gets picked up by several different outlets. So it looks like there's something else. And those outlets might alter the press release a little bit, alter the title, this, that, and the other, to make it seem like it's their own content. Still a press release. And those are the tools that I'm using as I go forward looking at things. So when I read about things like that, when I hear about things like that, I'm always evaluating what I'm looking at versus my DCA strategy. What coins I should be paying attention to. More importantly, I have conversations with people that know as much or more than me. Why? Because they're doing their own research. And that's how you figure out, well, is that something I should be looking into? See what I mean? So when I look at BlackRock, getting kicked out, getting kicked down the road along with Grayscale and, Fidelity with their Ethereum spot ETFs, I'm kind of like, okay, but how long is that going to last? Then I'm starting to think about, well, what are the pin plays? Arbitrum, Polygon, how are they going to react when that happens? Again, am I going to see, everybody's going to think, oh, it's solidly positive when that happens. I don't know. How is that going to affect gas fees? Which is why I'm looking at Ethereum's Dencun, I think it's pronounced Dencun, upgrade that's coming up, because it's supposed to increase speed, reliability, scalability, right? And security, obviously. So I'm looking at that to say, well, because Ethereum, those gas prices can get high. Right? And does that push you off to other networks to actually transact? Cardano's fast, Solana's fast, even XRP is fast. But XRP is built for what? Institutional investors. But then you have Stellar, XLM, which is more similar technology, but built for the retail sector. You don't really hear a lot of news about Stellar, but you should kind of pay attention to it because its trading volume is high. Pay attention to trading volume because that's who's using it. That's what's going on with it. Those are the things I'm paying attention to, right? Then I'm looking at the SEC, over the past little while, and the SEC having ambiguous arguments against Coinbase and Binance. They have yet to determine or state what a stable coin is a stable coin a security or not. They won't put their flag in the ground. That ambiguity, those inconsistencies between the various cases are going to cause the SEC major problems. So every time I see an SEC case come up, I start to take a look at, well, what are the cases it has on the docket right now? What are they bringing against whoever in this new case? Is it in line with what they're doing in the previous cases, or is it creating more uncertainty in the space? Why? Because they're muddying the waters. That's what I pay attention to, which is why I lean toward, Gary Gensler had to get a new job for a long time. Somebody needs to help him do that, right? Then I'm looking at Ripple. Ripple's making big moves. I don't know that people are paying attention, but Ripple's making really big moves. Yes, it's on the institutional side, but from a possible IPO going forward and how XRP is being valued now, I have to pay attention to that because I'm an investor. I have to pay attention to that. So when I look at their move deeper into becoming a custodian, they bought Medico, which puts them in a good place to be a custodian for institutional investors. That's big. That's very big. So I'm looking to see what else they do to continue growing that institutional investment space, right? Then I'm looking at Terraform Labs filing for bankruptcy. Like, I wasn't shocked, but I was shocked, you know? So that was something I paid attention to. The US GDP, just out of the park. We were expecting 2.0. We get 3.3. Wow. What other economic data did we get? Oh, that's right. All of these freaking layoffs are happening. So I was listening to a very popular podcast, not going to name any names, four guys yapping, four billionaires yapping. I'll give you that much. And they were talking about how when you look at the GDP, you're kind of looking at, you know, not a fizzle, not a melt down, but a melt up in, you know, in the economy. And then I started looking at, you know, the earnings numbers from a lot of the companies that were coming out with earnings. And at one point, the earnings numbers were 62% of the companies had beat estimates. Again, I need to go look to see what's going on now in terms of what that percentage is. But a lot of the companies were beating estimates, meeting or beating estimates. Right? And I'm kind of like, wow. Then I started looking at, well, how many of those companies, not just those companies, but in general, how many companies are having massive layoffs? The reason why I'm paying attention to layoffs is because there was a huge push to grow companies. Got to grow the company. Got to grow the company. We have tons of work. Got to grow the company. So that hyper growth in terms of staffing, big mistake. Big mistake. Because what are we seeing now? We're seeing huge layoffs, right? So from hyper growth to hyper get the hell out of here. And that's not cool. That's not cool at all, because it seems to be focused, you know, very heavily focused on tech-related companies. So I'm paying attention to that, because how many technical people are going to be out of work? And that also has an effect on the economy. Those companies that are reporting are saying, oh, yeah, you know, we're becoming more efficient. You know, we've let go X percentage of our staff. Like 1,900 from Activision Blizzard. Now a Microsoft company. 1,900 staff. After making tons of money. What was it? I think the number's like something ridiculous, like 3 billion or something like that. They made money. They were in the black. Just that one division in the black. Solidly. 3.9 billion or something like that. And I'm like, wow. But I still laid off people. Why? What direction are you going in? So as an investor, I'm paying attention to not just everything that's going on in the crypto market, but everything that can affect the crypto market or the stock market, because that's where I primarily invest. I invest in my companies. I invest in real estate, stocks, you know, and the rest of it, options, bonds, whatever. And then crypto. Not necessarily in that order, but you get what I'm saying. And I'm kind of like, wow. Some of these companies are making strategic moves as a part of a larger strategy to either become more efficient, streamline, or course direct, or course correct, right? Other companies are looking to stave off shareholder ire, meaning angry shareholders. The reason why I say that is because a lot of them are going through the layoffs, but aren't doing anything else. They're not doing anything else. Pay attention to that, because companies that are going through massive layoffs and you look at them and you kind of go, where are those layoffs hitting? Well, don't they need those resources to do what they do? So does that mean down the road, we're going to hear about less offerings, or are we going to hear a slippage in quality in those offerings? What are we looking at there? What are we going to get from that? This is why I dig in. This is why I do my Sunday roundup. Whether I drop a video or not, I'm always doing my Sunday roundup. I'm looking at the week previous and what happened, how that kind of fixes my gaze as I look forward. And right now, when I look forward, I'm kind of like, well, so yeah, what about these companies that had these massive layoffs? Wayfair, layoffs, Spotify, layoffs, all in the technology space. Microsoft, I think that was a little more strategic, because they have a big gaming team. But I don't know why I would get rid of so many people from a specific spot, from Activision Blizzard. So I'm gonna have to see how that pans out. But so far, Microsoft's been firing on all pistons. And if you look at who's coming up with their earnings next week, or rather this week, Microsoft is one of them. Microsoft's the biggest, $3 trillion. That's right. So these are the things that I'm looking at from the past and what's going on over that past week and everything that kind of catches up to that last week. And that's going to help me figure out what I'm looking for going forward. What I'm looking for going forward, if you notice, we're back up. Bitcoin is back up. A lot of the altcoins are back up. Solana's looking, trying to touch $100 again. A lot of the altcoins are starting to do well. I mean, you have a little bit of profit taking right now, but they're starting to do well. So these are things, I'm kind of like, how's it going to look for the week coming forward? I think the fear and greed index is going to continue to go up. Why? We have less headwinds. Not that they've all dissipated and gone away, but I think the winds driving us onward and upward are outweighing the winds that are hitting us, right? Anyway, you know what we should do? I should actually bring in the number, shouldn't I? So let's see if I can do that. Ta-da! Yeah, you can see my notes. Yeah, I know. Let's pull that, push this. There you go. So now if you look at who's reporting on numbers this week, Microsoft, Apple, Google, Amazon, Meta, ExxonMobil, MasterCard, Merck and Company, AbbVie Pharmaceuticals, AMD is reporting, very interested in AMD. Chip manufacturer, very interested in AMD, what they've got going on. Another oil company, Chevron, is coming out. Thermo Fisher is another company I'm paying attention to because they exploded during the pandemic, right? All the drugs, all that stuff, they were huge. I want to see what they've got going on now, right? So that's another one I'm going to pay attention to. Qualcomm, another one I want to pay attention to. Pharma's huge because here we are with Pfizer as well. UPS is coming out. I'm expecting to see some names from that, see some good numbers from that. Honeywell as well. Boeing, I'm expecting to hear, more crying. We didn't get this right. We didn't get that right. But I want you to pay attention to something. If you look at products in general in the United States, the biggest issue that I think we've been faced with has been greed, corporate greed. So when I look at everything that's going on with Boeing and everything that's taking them so long to get things done, I have to say, I think they're cutting corners. Door bolts rattling. There was a plane that flew and flames were shooting out one of the engines. Now, are they responsible for the maintenance? For these airlines? These airlines are supposed to keep up with their maintenance. Was it a Boeing problem with their engine? Don't know. We'll have to wait for the report to come out. But that said, there's a lot coming out against Boeing. And I really do think that, corporate greed on the broad stroke is leading toward quality issues, not to mention shrinkage in general retail products. Take a bag of chips. What you used to get in a bag of chips that you now pay more for is now less. Even they didn't even hide it. Now the bag is even smaller. It used to be that, you know, before you got less weight, but now they're saying, no, we're going to save money on the cost of the bag too. We're going to make the bag smaller. I mean, they're not even, I mean, I don't even know why these companies make those little snack bags. Remember when you were a kid, your parents used to be able to go to the store and buy a whole big thing of snacks, you know, little snack bags, you know, and they were like half the size or something like that as a regular bag of chips. Now the regular bag of chips seem to be that size now. So I don't even know why you would do that. But these are the things that I'm paying attention to. Why? Because it's a general idea about where I think everything is going. Companies might be doing well, but they're hurting the people that actually need the products and also work for them to make the products and services, right? Then when you look at the US real estate market, you start to realize, wow, we're not doing well with regard to, you know, everything that's going on for, you know, single family homes, so starter homes. You have whole neighborhoods of starter homes that are only being offered as rentals. And I mentioned this before because Bill Gates owns a whole bunch through his companies. Jeff Bezos owns a whole bunch through his companies, and they're very slick about it. They, all these big companies, they're using smaller companies to buy this, buy this, buy this, buy this, buy this, buy this, buy this. And nobody's tracking back that they all belong to a smaller set of companies. So when I look at that real estate market, I'm sitting back and I'm going, wow, people are asking, are we becoming a renter nation? And I would say that we're already a renter nation. Already a renter nation. You're already facing the idea that people can't afford to buy a house. They can barely afford to rent a house. There are whole neighborhoods in other states that have been run down and abandoned, but they're homes. How come they're not being rented? How come they're not being sold? That could change. But these are broad stroke things that we have to pay attention to as we move forward. And over this next week, I'm expecting to hear a little bit more about real estate, right? I'm expecting to hear a little bit more about the pharma industry because, you know, drugs cost more. Who was it? Eli Lilly had said, we're going to go direct. We're going to start selling certain things direct. I think they're going to fare well because what they're saying is that if we cut out all these layers, we can sell direct, make more money, as well as keep the price down. If that's a broad success, I think you're going to see that happen more and more. This is why I'm paying attention to the pharma space, right? So as I look across this coming week, let's switch back over to the numbers. Boopity boop. Right. What U.S. economic data is coming out? Tuesday, we have the S&P Case-Shiller home price index and job openings, consumer confidence. Wednesday, ADP unemployment, the unemployment cost index, Chicago Business Barometer PMI comes out. A Fed interest rate decision comes out on Wednesday. I'm expecting no movement whatsoever. So that shouldn't be a shock to anybody. It'll probably still be good news for a little bit for people. Then you have initial jobless claims on Thursday, U.S. productivity, ISM manufacturing comes out. You have S&P U.S. manufacturing PMI. That's the final number. Friday, what do we get? U.S. hourly wages, the U.S. unemployment rate, non-farm payrolls, and consumer sentiment, you know, the final number. So we have some more economic data that's going to come out that we definitely should be paying attention to. Let's see. Like I said, neutral right now, we're at 54. I'm expecting that number to grow a little bit. DeFi Llama, we're back up. We were at 72 billion. Now we're up to 74 billion. I'm hoping we can hit 76, 77 billion this week. I mean, no guarantees there, but I think that as we start getting better, we could see that number start to grow. If you look at where we are trading right now, we're back above. You see my little yellow band right here? We had a major dip over here, right? Major dip over here. But again, we're trading within the band that I identified. 41,416 for Bitcoin as my low, 741 as my high in that band. Yes, we've broken out on both sides, top and bottom on that band. But primarily over the past while, we've been trading laterally within that band. Now I'm expecting breakout moves. I really am expecting breakout moves over the next week or two. I'm definitely expecting to hit above 45,000, above that 44,741 number that I have in front of you. Looking at the numbers as they are right now, you're seeing a lot of red. However, the numbers are up. The numbers really are up. What's green is green, but you really have to look at things from this perspective, right? You're looking, again, I always look at the year-to-date movement when we're so early in the year. Then I start to look at the 1 hour, 24 hour, and the other ones, right? And the reason why is because it kind of gives me a better feel for what's going on. If had I invested day one, where would my money be? With the numbers the way they are for Ethereum and Bitcoin, I'm basically at break even. For just about everybody else, I'm down significantly. But I'm down, let's say, so if you look at Solana, if I'd have invested on day one this year, I'm down basically 6%. But over the past 24 hours, I've been up a little bit. Over the past 7 days, I've been up a little bit. 30 days down, but over the past 90 days, I'm up. But if I look at right now, if I'm looking at my DCA strategy for the next year, and I look at that starting from day one, I'm looking at, for me, I think Solana has huge upward momentum to go. Why? Because we already know in recent history over the past few weeks, it has been over $100 and well over $100. So if I'm looking at, Solana being able to hit 120 easily at 95, yeah, I'm going to be all about it. I'm absolutely going to be all about it. With all the news that's going out about Avalanche, I'm going to be all about Avalanche. I'm going to be all about Cardano, Polygon. Those are going to be some of my top coins in my HODL wallet. And yes, I have separate wallets for trading, separate wallets for use, separate wallets for hodling. That's how I break everything up. And my DCA strategy goes toward hodling and use and all that other good stuff. I want to pay attention to what I'm getting to actually use in the future, what I'm getting to actually hold in the future. These are the things I'm paying attention to. Something else I'm paying attention to, put this back. A lot of people have been reaching out to me and asking me to do classes. Some people want some really not high level, but deep classes on a higher capability person, meaning I want to have what are the on and off ramps for specific kinds of digital assets, what platforms and how to use those platforms, things like that. And then I have another group that's saying, hey, I'm kind of into crypto, but I don't really have a foundation in crypto. I've kind of just been paying attention to the waves that happen, those big waves, but I'm not in it as deep as I could because I don't have a foundation in my knowledge, right? So what's the difference between fiat and crypto? What's the difference between currency and fiat? What's the difference between a crypto transaction, a credit card transaction? What's the speed? What's the security? All that stuff. And then, what is a tokenized asset? I'm getting asked a lot of the what is that? And I'm thinking about putting together, like I've been saying over the past week, I'm thinking about putting together a 2-hour class on not just those basics, but a little bit more than those basics. And I'm hoping to bring in another company that does, that has a bigger level class and teaching structure. Like that's all they do. I'm doing it from my perspective, meaning here are your basics that you need to know, that I think you need to know, what I'm teaching my kids, basically. And my kids are not little kids. My youngest child is 16. right? Next one is almost going to be 20. The other two are in their 20s. So this is what I teach my kids on what my perspective is, what my research style is, what my research depth is. So I want to give them a foundation, and people are asking me to share that foundation with them. And I'd like to know, do you agree? Is that something I should do? Yes, of course, I'm going to set a price for it, but I'd like that price to be at a price point where people can afford to take the class. And I'm thinking at the end of the class, it's not just going to be one of those, oh, I'm going to listen to it, I'll be able to take some notes, yada, yada. No, at the end of the class, there will be an exam. It'll be a voluntary exam, right? But I think that you should take the exam so you can actually test your knowledge base. And then at the end of it all, I'll record that session, because I plan for it to be a live session, right? Where I will do it in segments, and I will have each segment followed by a QA. And each segment as a recording will be available to those that can't afford to be in the actual class, but the QA portions will only be open to the people that actually take place or actually take part in the actual live class. And that way everybody can learn, everybody can get their footing on what is here now, right? In terms of crypto, in terms of investing, and then what is coming. Because adoption is here. Adoption, everybody was questioning adoption like 3, 4, 5 years ago, and then it started creeping up. And now out of nowhere, you have a ton of institutional investors just all about crypto. You have a ton of retail investors all about crypto. But again, seeking that foundation to understand the better give and take in that space. How do I research it? How do I invest in it? All that good stuff. And one of the reasons why I want to give that class is because I remember when I was growing up as a minority in this country, not even just a minority, just not being in the class of people that have enough money to be able to afford a trader, right? You had to have a bare minimum to afford a trader to actually trade stocks and pay their crazy fees. Now, things are so open to people. People can lose money just because it's so easy for them to make a mistake. So I figure if we can give a class based on giving foundation to what's going on in our crypto world, in our cryptoverse, they have a better opportunity, a better chance to actually win. And that's what it's all about, is growing your bag and winning. Because right now, I have to tell you, I'm not living for my first name. When you first come out there, you're living for your first name, all about me, 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 me. I'm not living for my first name anymore. I'm living for my last name. My last name being my legacy. What can I teach my kids? And then what can they teach their kids? Some of the best moments I have right now are the lessons that I taught my eldest son, and to watch him pass it along to his baby brother, basically the second that I teach it to him. Those are huge things. Looking at his big sister do the same thing with her younger siblings. It's huge to me. That brings me joy. So if I can share what I'm sharing with my kids with a broader audience, I'm happy to, but I need your feedback. So do me a favor, give me your feedback. Anyway, this is Eddie J on crypto for growmybag.tv. We've actually got more coming, but I'm gonna leave it at that, and I'll share that later as we continue to make progress. If you like what I'm doing, drop me a note. It really, really makes me feel good. Honestly, it really, really does. If you've got not criticism, but critiques. Criticisms are things that are just meanly said to bring you down. But if you have critiques, meaning you're going to tell me something that you believe can actually help me produce a better show, produce better content for you, please drop me a note. I would love to hear from you. I prefer for you to drop that note over on growmybag.tv. But anyway, I hope you have a good one. Bye-bye.